I had the chance to dive into No More Room in Hell 2, an upcoming zombie survival extraction game. The concept is very straightforward. You and 7 other unfortunate players are dropped into a large map, each starting out in different corners and areas. Your goal? Very simple, folks. Survive as long as you can, potentially to group up, complete objectives, and hopefully escape. It's a pure PvE experience, so there's no need to worry about sweaty PvP combat here. All the danger comes from PvE enemies and the environment, which keeps things very focused and incredibly intense. The game throws a variety of zombies at you, all with different behaviors, alongside environmental hazards such as poison gas, electricity, and fire. And while you're trying to solve puzzles and mini games to complete your tasks, these zombies are always looming, and as the game progresses, the pacing ramps these up, and that makes for a real nice push-pull atmosphere in the game. It plays tension incredibly well. You might be fixing something, but there's always that sound of a zombie horde approaching, banging on doors, in your ear, moaning. It's a really visceral and scary experience, and there's always that worry that something's going to burst out and jump on you. Now, I've spent probably around 6 hours playing this game in total, and I found myself getting quite comfortable with the movement and completing the objectives quickly eventually. It actually reminds me a little bit of the old school Resident Evil games where you had to play inventory Tetris. This actually is something I'm fond of. I know that's a bit weird, but I feel like having this in the game adds a bit more tension because you're having to juggle things around. Some people may not like it. I personally did quite a lot. The concept is really simple, but these little details just all pile on the pressure and the tension the game offers. Now, if you don't know Torn Banner Studios, they are the team that worked on the Chivalry series, and whilst this isn't the same kind of game in terms of PvP melee combat that you're used to in those games, the melee system definitely takes a lot of inspiration from there, as the combat feels weighty, satisfying. It's very impactful. There's nothing quite like smashing zombies over the head with a metal pipe, folks. This really doesn't get old, and it does feel quite visceral in that regard as well. But that being said, this is where I will start to offer a few concerns here and there. We were running into some pretty painful performance issues and glitches, for want of a better phrase, when entering melee combat. There was gore coming out of people in random places. Sometimes weapons felt like they weren't registering. However, that being said, the devs have acknowledged this stuff, and there is actually a day 0 patch that is coming with the early access of this game on Tuesday the 22nd. So we were playing an older build. There's bags of room for polish here, and with the mention of the 22nd as the launch day, I will be covering this game extensively on stream and in my content strategy. So if you'd like to stay informed on all things No More Room in Hell 2, make sure you drop the channel a subscribe, and you could even head over to the Phase Shift community Discord. We're going to be organising all kinds of co-op games via there when we're on stream and offline to really get our teeth into this game, for want of a better phrase, folks. Now, how does a round of No More Room in Hell 2 work? Let's break down the flow of a match to get a better understanding of that. You spawn somewhere on the map by yourself, usually with just a flashlight, a melee weapon, and a revolver, and you can find a nearby med kit. That's a little tip there for you, folks. There's always one when you spawn. The map currently available is called Power Plant, and it's set in a rural setting, with a power plant being the central objective of the run. Before you can get there, though, you've got 2 key points of interest to clear first, which are random each run that you make, and they each have their own objectives, and the specific locations, as I've mentioned, vary game to game, but that doesn't limit you from going and looting and doing other objectives as well. But there are 2 set ones that you need to complete to get access to the power plant. You're navigating through a terrifyingly dark setting, looting supplies, creeping around, trying to not engage zombies where possible, and then the key at the start of the round is to try link up with other players, all while dealing with this zombie horde threat. Zombies themselves come in various flavors, from slow-moving Resident Evil style zombies, runners which are a bit more like your Left 4 Dead 28 Days Later style zombies, which you have to deal with quicker, and then you also have this red-eyed elite, which reminds me a little bit of the State of Decay zombies that you come across there, and again from State of Decay, the screamers, which can alert zombies from a greater distance. And then there's these ones called burners that catch fire and spread it around you. I do have to say, folks, I noticed a lot of jank with that fire mechanic. I hope they've fixed that in the Day 0 patch. I believe they will have, but you basically get torched by them when they're a mile away from you, which is pretty frustrating to say the least. The caveat to all this is killing zombies don't benefit you. They don't give you XP, they don't give you loot, you don't make progression. All you do is kill the threat. They actually just chip away at your health. They are the obstacle of the game, obviously, but wading in and shooting them constantly is going to end up in one place, and that is with you dead as dead can be, because you need that ammunition for the end of the mission, which I'll go over in a moment. Once you've completed the objectives and you get into the power plant, you essentially have to complete a horde mode type encounter, which is quite difficult. It was difficult to make sense of it. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it takes some figuring out to start with, but once you do, it becomes a little bit more easy. But that is why you need to make sure you keep all your ammo, or you will end up dead in this situation. Once you reach one of those initial objectives I've mentioned, like a checkpoint or a train station or a watchtower, you'll have to complete a series of tasks. Let's talk about the watchtower, for example. You have to gain access through the roof, so you have to find a way onto the roof, and then you drop down and you need to restore the power to ultimately gain access to the top of the watchtower, which acts as a bit of a weapon cache of sorts. To do this, you need to solve some light puzzles which involve fuse boxes and inserting fuses and getting a generator running with some fuel. I won't spoil how to do this, I'll just tell you about it. I don't want to spoil people and ruin their first experience of the game, but these are interesting to a point. I think they add a good deal of tension. If you're in a high pressure situation with zombies everywhere, it feels really tense trying to complete these simple mini games. Once you successfully clear these objectives, as I mentioned, you get access to a weapons cache, a loot room of sorts with loads of goodies from different weapons, ammo, healing items, tools, all that good stuff to distract zombies or kill zombies or keep you alive, and you'll find a plethora of things here. But your storage is limited, folks. As I mentioned, it has the old style Resident Evil kind of inventory, meaning you've got to make decisions. You've got to communicate with your party, which I think is a great touch. You might want to niche into certain weapon types, which means that you will only carry certain types of ammo, and you can split things up that way accordingly, and I think that is fantastic. Once you've cleared an objective, you can head to the power plant and complete the mission. However, when you are going to try and access power plant, it's so important that you don't just limit yourself to the 2 places that you go to. It is well worth looting around to make sure you have ample supplies to that crucial end bout. Now, the atmosphere of this game is probably one of my favorite standout features. It feels much like something like Hunt Showdown. It has that underlying tension of push-pull, gritty, visceral, nasty, dirty feeling all the time, and there's always that impending sense that you are going to have something terrible happen to you. It's very eerie. You have to navigate in a very dimly lit environment, and the sound design plays a crucial role to making this game feel the way it does. I will say, the zombies do sound a little bit questionable sometimes. I feel like some of the sound recordings are perhaps not as high quality, shall we say, in terms of their delivery, but I think that might be something that they may have on their radar to upgrade over time. This is what creates that real survival horror experience, making each encounter feel like a significant moment. It really does capture the vibe of old Resident Evil games and just zombie films in general, and those big pinch point moments where in a film you're like, yeah, one of them's gonna die here. There's always that feeling that something bad is going to happen, and a lot of the time, folks, it can, as I've found out a multitude of times throughout my playthroughs. In terms of the progression and replayability, the game features an account and character progression, so you are incentivized to keep going, and even though each match plays out very similarly, we only have one map at the moment, with it being an early access release, of course, you are encouraged to complete multiple runs because you take out supplies, which are crucial because they act as experience points, and this helps you level up your character, making them stronger for future runs. I believe from what I'm seeing the devs say is the difficulty will ramp and scale based on what level you are as you progress through the game. So if you have a high level character, you will get put in with high level characters as well and do a harder version of the game. I haven't got complete clarity on that point. I'm just going by what I was reading in the Discord that we were in, but I think that this is a nice touch. I'm really interested to see how the difficulty scales actually. Now, there is an elephant in the room here. There is always, of course, a comparison to the first game, and there is, of course, always concerns and improvements. I will start off by saying, whilst I had a really good time fine with No More Room in Hell 2. I did notice a lot of things that concerned me. This may just be because it's a pre-Day Zero patch version of the game, but it just felt very janky at times. The movement felt heavy. There was a lot of clipping going on with physical objects. There was a lot of places in the landscape that you couldn't climb up even though they looked like they were climbable. And the zombies were teleporting all over the place. There was a lot of technical issues which will really mar the experience if they haven't got this in line for the Day Zero patch. But with that being said, folks, it is an early access release. It is not going to be perfect, so please manage your expectations. And I will say that I'm still going to be playing the hell out of it. It is a really fun game. The potential is absolutely there, and I am going to be supporting it. In terms of some concerns I've seen the community echoing, one of them is the lack of special infected, for want of a better phrase, and I actually don't think this is a problem. I quite like the boots on the ground, realistic zombie encounters. There's nothing crazy. There's no massive tank like you have in Left 4 Dead. There's no crazy special infecteds with special abilities. The most crazy you get is ones with red eyes that have crazy amounts of health, ones that run at you and scream and scare the hell out of you, and screamers that attract more. That is as rock and roll as we're getting with these zombies, and I'm all about that. Now, there is the comparison to the first game, and I know from reading the comments in my previous video, there are a lot of disgruntled No More Room in Hell veterans who weren't particularly impressed with what they saw. I am a complete newcomer to the franchise. I've played very limited amounts of No More Room in Hell 1, so I can't give a really extensive comparison, but I did have a lot of fun when I did play that game many years ago, and I know that the fan base are incredibly hyped about the game in general, and many of them have now expressed concerns about the footage looking very easy and that it just doesn't really measure up against what they're used to from the first game. And I do have incredibly high hopes for this sequel, but I'm coming at it from a blank canvas. It retains a lot of elements from survival horror games and just general zombie games that I've loved over the years. It has that potential to be a really great addition into the genre. With that being said, do sound off in the comments below and let me know what your thoughts or concerns are, folks. Are you a veteran from No More Room in Hell 1? What do you think? All in all, for me, No More Room in Hell 2 is delivering a really tense and rewarding experience, even in its early access state. And of course, there are bugs and performance issues, but I'm really confident from interacting with the devs myself and just generally seeing how they've responded to questions that they're going to sort those things out. And if you look at Chivalry is a great game. It's very well made. It's very fun. They clearly take a lot of time and care with their products, and I've had a blast playing that game over the years, so I'm really hopeful. As I mentioned previously, if you're looking for a place to hang out and check the game out on release day, maybe you're not sure about taking the plunge for an early access release, then come check out a stream or two on YouTube or Twitch, or take a look at the Faceshift Community Discord. All the links are in the pinned comment and the description below. We'd love to have you there, and I'll see you on Tuesday, the 22nd of October, for some No More Room in Hell 2.